Good afternoon on this Sunday, January 19th, 2020. This is episode 47 of Funny Like a Clown podcast. I am your host, Dennis Wirth, at Gardner, G. Vegas, little town outside of Boston. As always, Funny Like a Clown podcast is brought to you by G. Vegas Buffalo Sauce for the spicy, sweet, savory taste of game time. There is only one G. Vegas. Find that at www.gvegas.webs.com. Go green. It's homemade. It's a fresh recipe, like a farmer's market thing. You don't want the mass-produced stuff. You want the home fresh stuff. All right, we discuss comedians, and today we are discussing legendary and controversial comedian Lewis Black. And to do that, I have on the phone former Boston comedian, former New Hampshire comedian, now residing, I believe, in South Carolina, Michele Mortensen. Welcome to the show, Michele.
Thanks, Dennis. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being on. How's life treating you down there in South Carolina?
It's been interesting. We're enjoying the weather. The comedy scene is slightly different from
what's different about
Boston,
it down there?
New England. It's growing slightly, but they're more into the sketch and the improv down here in general than they are with the stand-up. But I've picked up a few gigs. We just had the Charleston Comedy Festival and a few other things. So it's been kind of fun.
Getting your feet wet down there. Is it like a cutthroat business like up here in Boston, or?
No, it is not cutthroat. It's a little clubby, shall we say?
Okay.
But not quite as cutthroat as. But we don't have a lot of headliners. We don't have a lot of people that stay around.
Right.
If they become big down here, they move out rather quickly.
Where it's more
There's
popular.
not as much of a scene.
Right. Yeah, I'm like that. I've traveled a little bit in comedy. I notice other areas like Vegas and Alaska, they try to help you out. We're here in Boston. It's everybody's. I guess there's too much competition here in Boston, but anyway, we brought you on to talk about a comedian. I asked you who to choose, and you chose Lewis Black. What made you choose him?
I think, first of all, he is an older comedian. He is of my generation. Second of all, I think that Lewis Black, of all the comedians I know, is the person that I would aspire to be like if I had the guts.
Right.
Here's a man who is fearless in terms of his material, his anger, boldly political, also very funny, very clever. Sometimes I watch things that he does on Back in Black, on The Daily Show, and I just wish that I could be that funny, that
It's
angry.
an honest anger, too, isn't it? I mean, that's truly, you can tell it's truly how he feels. He's not just making up a routine. It's truly how the guy feels.
Yes. He's a political socialist, unashamedly a socialist, and he is angry about the way what is happening in this country, and it shows on stage. And I love the way that he comes on stage, and sometimes the anger just builds and builds and builds, and then he'll just calm down. He'll take a breath, and he'll work himself up again. I've seen him about 4 times on stage. He's coming to Charleston in May. I hope to be able to attend that performance. The real deal. It's interesting also, as a side note, that he was actually at Yale the same time we were. Our paths never crossed. My husband was at Yale. I didn't go.
Right.
But he has a master's. He was a screenwriter. He had a master's in playwriting.
That was where he started, right?
Did write a few plays before he started in with the comedy.
Right. Well, you brought up a good point. I thought that he's around our age, and they say some people in this business, they hit it right off the bat, and others, it just takes years and years and years of work before they hit it. And I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, Ralphie Joyle, and he was saying, there's no chance of people our age getting on like the Tonight Show or something. They're looking for the next young up-and-coming comic. They're not looking for our age. But Lewis, he actually hit it big. It was later on in his career, so at least hope that, older people can still make it on the scene, not just the young up-and-coming comics.
Early 40s. I believe that really he hit it when he was in his early 40s. yeah, and
They're usually looking for the 20-year-old something, right? The next big thing, right? So
right,
it
yeah,
leaves hope for people like
that's
us. We
exactly
still
right.
have a chance, right? But
Maybe you, Dennis. I don't know.
I don't know. I know it's getting tougher as the years go by. But let's see. He's best known for his rants on political, religion, and history. And I know the big three taboo things you never touch in comedy are supposed to be race, religion, and disease. And have you ever tried political comedy yourself, or?
I don't do a whole lot of political comedy. You play so many different places up in, especially in New England, and you never know what the climate is going to be like. I won't do a joke about Trump. I won't do a joke about anybody really.
I tried it early
The
on, and I
area.
found people get really, really pissed. I had to cut them out of my act. I mean, I thought they were just jokes, but some people take politics too seriously, I think.
We take politics very seriously, much more seriously than even when I started several
Right?
years ago, and so it's a minefield.
It's a
And
politically
down here in
correct generation.
yeah, and down here in Charleston, it's an even bigger minefield, I think. So I keep it out of the act, and going to a show like his where it's just, you know what you're going to get. You know where he stands. You know how he feels about the politicians.
Uh,
And it's
well, you got
just
to be real.
refreshing.
Isn't South Carolina ain't that like toward the Bible Belt or whatever? So you really got to be careful what you say down there, don't you?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So
I
you
did a
gotta.
corporate show on Thursday night, and they told me keep it PG rated. And my husband was there at the show, and he said that a couple of people flinched when I used the word damn.
Right. You never know what's going to trigger people. What's politically correct to you might not be to somebody else, so you never know. It's
Now, PG, considering what is said on the television these days in terms of language, to use the word damn, I didn't think anything of it. And my husband came back to me later and he said, there were 3 or 4 people when you said that just, you could see them
I heard
react.
the term pissed off, if you use it up here, it just means you're upset. But I heard down south, that's like a real bad slur. If you say that word down there, they take it very offensively. So it depends
Well,
where you're
yeah,
at.
I did not know that. And thanks for the tip
now,
because,
now you learn the hard way,
I
right? There you go. So, all right, let's see. Lewis Black, he had a Comedy Central series, The Root of All Evil. What do you remember about that?
I remember very little about that. My initial exposure to him was on The Daily Show, going back to Jon Stewart
Right, he did the what? The
when he
Back in
used to
Black
do his
segment
rants.
on The Daily Show?
Yes,
What do you remember
yes.
about that?
Well, he still does it. I think he takes long breaks when he's on tour, but he does do it when he with Trevor Noah on Wednesdays. So I try to catch it when it's when it is being broadcast. The one classic one I remember was about Taco Bell when they announced that they were going to keep what was in their taco meat a secret, and to me, it is just one of the more classic routines, not political at all, but just,
Yeah.
him wanting to know what's in the meat. In fact, I used that. I taught a class of professional communications at UMass Lowell for a little while, and, I compared what Taco Bell had set out as a press release about the meat and everything, and then I compared it, and then I showed the Lewis Black rant, and
It's probably closer to
just
dog food. Of
absolutely
course, they don't want to
classic.
let the secret out.
Right, right. That and his thing about candy corn.
What
Yes,
about
a
candy
lovely
corn?
thing about candy corn. Yeah.
Oh, is that got bad stuff in it too, candy corn?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I thought that was mostly sugar, but who knows what they're putting in stuff nowadays, right?
Oh, right.
All right. Now I know when I had my son when he was younger, I hit all the kids' films, and now that he's grown up, I don't hit the kids' films anymore. So you probably don't either. But he was the voice of anger in Pixar's film Inside Out. Do you remember anything about that? Or
Yes. I saw it first with my husband, and then we took the granddaughters.
how do you voice anger?
It, well, he was anger. It just he was beautifully done, and when you watch the film, I can't imagine anyone else voicing it except for Lewis Black. It's a gem of a film.
The role was made for him.
Some well-known actors. Who else is in that? Bill Hader, and also Amy Poehler, and a few others. And it's just beautifully done. And I watched some interviews at the time. I think this was his first major voiceover in terms of film,
Right.
and he really enjoyed himself. And
So you'd recommend the movie?
Yes.
You would? Okay.
Kids, or I bawled at the end. I cried.
That's
like
a safe
baby.
move, yeah. A lot of the comedians go toward cartoons now because it's a safe move, you know. There ain't very many cartoons that bomb, so with Shrek and Toy Story, and all the comedians are going toward that.
Yeah, it's hard to get voiceover work these days because so many of the celebrities are doing.
They're doing it, right?
Yeah, they're doing it, and you know, it's a way to bring in the box office dough. But yeah,
Jerry Seinfeld with the B
movie.
Everybody's doing them.
Yes.
Well, let's see. When I started out this podcast, I actually used this list as the comedians that I wanted to review all. Comedy Central's 100 Greatest Comedians of All Time, and they voted Lewis Black number 51 on that list. Would you think that was accurate? Would you put him higher or lower? I mean, this is of all time.
I would put him. Yes, I would put him right in the middle.
Right in the middle, somewhere. Okay.
If it were my 100 list,
right,
I would put him higher, but I could understand why he would be right there in the middle.
Right.
Yes, I think that's a good place for Lewis.
It's a new day and age, because if you asked us who the godfathers of comedy were, you know, get the same answers: Carlin, Pryor, Dangerfield. But you know, if you asked our parents, it would have been, you know, Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin and Groucho Marx. Where if you ask the kids of today, it'd be Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle. So every generation has their godfathers, I guess. So I thought in the middle would be great for him too. As you mentioned, he began in theater. That was where he got his work, and he put down his influences were George Carlin, Lenny Bruce, Richard Pryor, Lily Tomlin, and Bob Newhart. Who, besides Lewis Black, who were some of the other comics that inspired you?
Me personally?
Yeah, you personally. Who were some of the comics that made you want to do comedy?
Probably, other than Black, Joan Rivers.
Joan, sure. We were talking about, yeah, I mean, if you went for female godmothers of comedy, she'd be at the top of the list.
Right. I think Black and Joan Rivers are the two that I have seen the most. You know, and again, fearlessness.
Right.
And their off stage persona in a lot of cases is totally different from what they project on stage.
Yeah.
Black is a real he's not married, but devoted to his late father and his mother. Speaks of them often. Used to have them in his audience. His mother, God love her, I believe is over. I think she's 102 or 103.
That's a good
His
life.
father passed away at 104. He had a relatively conservative upbringing in Silver Spring, Maryland. And if you watch, you know, he's done the USO tours, and you see this nice guy. You see this, you know,
Off
gentleman.
stage, right? Yeah.
And Rivers, you know, who would come out and bash anybody.
She made her what? She said she made her living on saying what other people thought, right? That was Joan's famous line. She made her living on saying what other people were thinking they wouldn't say, right?
Yes. Yes. Oh, grow up, you know. And I wish that in some ways I could be that clever or
be that daring.
Old.
Well, it's a lot easier when you're on a big stage like that. Even if you offend half the people, the half are left is still a big audience. When you're on the local scene, if you offend half the audience, it's tough on the local scene to make a go of it because you don't have as big a crowds watching you.
That's right. And to make that leap I believe these days where everything is so PC, is more difficult.
Yeah, everybody's offended by
Uh,
everything nowadays. Not like when we grew up and you could take a joke.
yes, you're absolutely right. And down here, people taking a joke is even tougher than it
Even
is in
tougher, right?
Boston.
Because you're in the Bible Belt, right?
Yes, yes,
Well, you got to be
exactly.
careful. Let's see. In 1998, he got his first Comedy Central Presents special. Again in 2000 and 2002. Now these were like half-hour specials before he went on to do his major specials. Do you remember anything about them?
Not really.
No. All
No,
right.
I didn't start comedy until uh, 12, 13 years ago.
Oh, was after
So
that, right?
in '98, I was busy raising kids and not really into the scene. So I wasn't really aware
Well, those are like stepping
of.
stones you use, just to get aware and that people decide if they like you or not. And if you hit a home run on
Yeah,
one of those, then you go on to do the major specials for them.
right. But even though it's even tougher with those, I mean, it seems like everybody these days can get half an hour on Comedy Central, but then a lot of people disappear after that.
Yeah,
And
not everybody gets
yet,
liked after that. Yeah, you got to really bring something different to the stage.
yes,
Let's see. All right,
yeah,
then he hit his big specials. 2002, he did Tax Beyond Belief. HBO Black on Broadway in 2007. 2006, HBO Red, White, and Screwed. What do you
yeah,
remember about any of those? Those were his big popular ones. I mean, what are your
yeah.
memories of them?
Well, I mean, 2006, we were in the Bush era, and what can you say? I mean, there was just so much material to be had during that particular time. I do remember his bit about Dick Cheney and the gun, and uh, when he accidentally hit one of his
Yeah, I
hunting
remember
partners
that.
in the face, and how do you think it happened? And
Rest of us would have been in jail. No charges were brought against him. Like,
right,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Um, it just, I mean, those were golden times for politicians or for comedians rather, because
Yeah, and there's a big
just
audience for
everything.
political humor too. I mean, we can't do it on the local scene because it's a very sensitive subject. But the national scene, I mean, the Daily Show, there's all kinds of political-based shows.
Right, right. But what we can do, you know, uh, is very difficult. But I do remember that particular one, and it was just a golden time. His newest show, the one that's coming, he's on tour with. It gets better every day. Now I can't imagine, you know,
I remember the
what's
one he
going
taught
on.
what when we were in grade school. They taught us if there was a nuclear war to get under your desk and put your head between your knees, like that was going to save you. So I was cracked up at that one. That was a
Yeah,
good observation, but
yeah. And I happened to see him. I was in Boston. Uh, his show was took place the night uh, that evening, and they had the funeral service for Ted Kennedy that day.
oh gee,
Ted had died. Oh yeah, and he came on stage, and he just looked at us all. He says, "Of all the bleeping days to be booked in Boston," so he said, "Here I am. You bury your last hero and the last bastion of civility in politics, probably." And he said, "And here I am," and we all. I know we all kind of felt bad, but
yeah.
yet again, he went on with the show, acknowledging the fact that this was going to be a tough
Trying to
night.
win over the
Um,
crowd, right? So you're all on the same page with them instead of against them, right?
yes, yes, definitely.
Well, let's see. In 2007, he won a Grammy Award for the Best Comedy Album at Carnegie Hall. Grammy Award, that's the top of the top, best of the best right there. So you get one Grammy and you're in with the legends. But do you think comedy albums are a thing of the past now because of the internet? Nobody's going to put them out because it's all the bootleg. You can't make any money off them anymore.
I don't think it's the money. I think it's the attention span, and I just don't. I mean, I don't listen personally. I don't listen to comedy albums.
Well, when we were kids, you could grab one, you could maybe make a copy and give it to your friend, and a few people got it. But nowadays, with the internet, you can make a copy of it, and everybody in the world's got it. So there's not much money to be made anymore off them.
Right, right, and all the streaming services, and plus, I mean, everybody makes an album. Everybody makes, it's not nearly as prestigious anymore as it was. I think the last comedy album I can think of that I owned is the Steve Martin one.
Way
from
back when.
way back, because the cover has him with the bunny ears on.
Right. Well, no, they're saying they're using them more as promotional tools now. They're not trying to make money off them, but it's a promotional tool to get you to come see their concert. Where, in the olden days you could make some money, but there's not much. And a lot of them, they're releasing them right on their website for you can download them. They're only charging $5, and they're lucky to get that because once somebody downloaded it, you can share it for free. But let's see, 2008 he came out with the Root of All Evil comedy on Comedy Central special. 2008 he did History of the Joke on the History Channel, actually. And I remember Larry the Cable Guy had a show on the History Channel either, and I watched it. I didn't think it was that good. And I like Larry the Cable Guy, but it just wasn't for me. But kind of funny the History Channel is getting involved with comedy, don't you think?
Yes, it is. But I mean, we have so many legends, and I think, especially right now, we need comedians. I don't think they appreciate the legends of comedy that have gone before them, and the work ethic, and even if
the young kids today don't respect nothing.
The jokes were corny or outdated.
Right.
I mean, and there is so much money to be made.
Sure, Netflix is taking over now. Netflix, geez, Eddie Murphy's on there, Chris, all the big names going to Netflix now, but they're offering the big bucks. That's the wave of the future. TV's going out and the internet's coming in.
I know. I think, who was it? Eddie Murphy was on Saturday Night Live. Was it Chappelle the other day?
Chris Rock, Chappelle was there.
And Chris Rock, and then saying this is 2/3 of Netflix's income,
right? Yeah, but that's the wave of the future. CDs are going out, and downstream and stuff's coming in.
Yeah.
All right, exactly. 2011, he put out on Epix In God We Rust. Excuse me. Then in 2013, he did his 9th comedy special, Old Yeller, and he actually made that a pay-per-view event, which that's pretty daring. I know Kevin Hart, was the first comedian since Eddie Murphy to put one out at the movie theater, but do you think pay-per-view is the way to go? That way, you're getting the money up front?
Yeah.
I guess with all the downloads and stuff, that's, you got to come up with new ways to make money. I guess pay-per-view is the way to do it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but it is. It's what's happening. It's not something for me. I feel absolutely, when I'm in the theater with the comedian or in a theatrical performance, I just feel, the electricity.
Yeah, there's nothing like a live crowd, for sure. A live crowd, there's nothing like it, yeah.
I mean, even the other, we went, we saw Steve Martin and Martin Short together.
How was that show? I was going to go to that and I missed it and I regret it. Was it a good show?
It was your loss.
I can imagine it. Well, I mean, frankly, there ain't many. You're not going to see Carlin. You're not going to see Pryor. They're gone. I did see Cosby before he went to jail. Dangerfield, you're not going to see. And then Steve Martin, he's one of the last, original 5 of my legends anyway, Torrance. So, actually, up at Foxwoods, they had a night there. Joan Rivers and Don Rickles was on the same bill on the same night working together at Foxwoods. I was going to go. I was so close, and I'm like, I'll catch them next time. My dumb ass never thinking they're going to be no next time. They're going to. I so regret not seeing that show. So when you get the chance, go.
Yeah.
I wish I had went.
Black is down in Charleston at the Music Hall in May, and I plan on seeing that one.
You don't want to miss out.
It's a small theater, relatively small theater.
That's the best way to see them in a small place, yeah.
If you get a chance to go see the Short and the Martin Short and Steve Martin show, I know they do it sporadically.
Right.
It is absolutely worth it. There's something old and there's something new, and of course with the two of them, there is something Shooting Blue in there. The energy
Oh,
that
the Three Amigos, one of my
they,
favorite movies of all time, and that together. They were great in that
yes,
together, yeah.
and that's the other thing about some of these guys. I mean, you know, when I last saw Rivers, she was probably 76, 77, and did an hour and 15 straight, and it was hilarious.
Sure.
Black is 70,
I think
and
Don Rickles, he was sitting in a wheelchair at the end telling his jokes in a wheelchair, Don Rickles, but
yeah,
I mean,
and
I
their
saw Carlin a
energy.
month before he died up at Hampton Beach, and he didn't move. He was hunched over, stood in one spot all night, but he still brought it. Funny as heck. Didn't move much, but he was still funny, you know?
Yeah,
So I was
yeah.
lucky to see him. All right, let's get back to Lewis Black here. I'll name off some of the shows he was on, then at the end tell me if you've seen any of what your favorite were. Law and Order, The Big Bang Theory, Nothing Sacred, The Happy Elf, The Weather Channel, Scooby-Doo, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, SpongeBob SquarePants. Do you have any favorites out of that you seen him on, or?
Turtles, and the Law and Order episode. I'm a Law and Order junkie, and I remember that episode quite well.
What do you remember about him on there?
That he played a controversial shock media Howard Stern like character, and did quite a good job with it. Yeah, he was very good. I haven't seen it in a while.
I remember on
but,
The Big Bang Theory, he was playing like he had a screw loose upstairs, but he played it very well.
Yeah, yeah. But of all of those, I'm not a big SpongeBob fan. But that's the one that stands out.
Stands out to you as your favorite, right? Those
yeah.
are big names to be in with, big name shows right there. So when you're at the top of your game, everybody wants you.
Yeah.
All right. Did you ever have anything like strange happening in comedy or weird out of the ordinary?
In my case?
In your personal case?
I had a woman who came on stage one night and just started dancing. She was totally wasted.
Oh, jeez. She's part of the act now all of a sudden, right?
And I had to kick her off.
Yep.
I was working with a local comic, and I was hosting, and I ended up kicking her off. I told her, get off the stage. She says, you want me to get off? I said, yes. I want you to get off.
My show, not yours, right?
Yeah, in comedy, no. I had more strange experiences when I was playing. I played French horn professionally for years, and I had more strange experiences.
Music, yeah.
Yeah, a guy. My first professional gig, the first flute had a fatal heart attack. The ceiling fell down. All kind of camels on stage. But in comedy, no. I've had a relatively, incident-free.
Well, you've been lucky then.
I played some real dives.
Oh, sure.
And some wild places from Maine down to the one that we did. It was a Chamber of Commerce at a local place, and I'm glad my husband went with me because I
might not have made it out alive, right?
No idea. Yeah, it just it was a town sort of reminiscent of something out of a Mel Brooks movie.
Right. I played one in Worcester.
So,
a lady came in with a bag full of fish, was trying to sell people fish out of a brown paper bag in the middle of the comedy center. Okay. Well, anyway, Lewis Black said this was one of his strangest experiences. In 2000, him and comedian Jim Norton were arrested for doing the Naked Teen Voyeur bus. They reported to the Opie and Anthony show, which is a radio show, from the bus with glass windows full of topless teens when they were driving around Manhattan with them. And they weren't told till afterwards on the radio show this was the same route that was going to be used by Bill Clinton that day, President Bill Clinton. So they spent 28 hours in jail for that. So probably don't have a story that could compete with that one, do you?
No.
No.
And I'm glad I don't.
Yeah, I don't think something that strange happened. That's what you're in for in the big time. All right, we end off every show with trivia. I'm going to give you 3 trivia questions about Lewis Black, and I'll preface with that nobody ever does good in trivia. In the history of Funny Like Clown podcast, nobody's ever gone 3 for 3. Only a couple people have gone 2 for 3. Most people go 1 for 3 or 0 for 3. But it's informative, so let's see how you do. You ready?
Probably 0 for 3, but we'll see.
Let's try. All right. What island hired Lewis Black as spokesperson for their tourism authority?
Island. I don't know. All I know is that he has an amazing bit about New Zealand.
It was actually Aruba. Aruba hired him, not New Zealand.
Aruba. Okay, well, then let me put a plug in for the bit. Watch it on YouTube about him flying to New Zealand. I'm wrong, but if you need a good laugh and you've flown lately, watch the bit about flying to New Zealand.
He gets around. Okay, so we already mentioned SpongeBob and Scooby-Doo, but he was the voice of Manobrain in what Cartoon Network series?
I don't know that one either.
Duck Dodgers. I guess I remember that was like a Donald Duck spoof on Buck Rogers, I remember, but he was the voice of Manobrain. He was one of the bad guys, so I guess if he played evil in one other, I guess being the bad guy in Duck Dodgers makes sense. All right. Well, you brought this one up a little bit earlier where he did some support for the troops, so here's your third question. In 2007, he went to support the troops in Iraq and Kuwait with what other comedy legend? So he was doing like a Bob Hope nowadays type thing, entertaining the troops in Iraq and Kuwait. It was him and what other comedy legend?
I don't remember who it was.
Robin Williams recently passed away.
Oh.
Who would have known stuff like that, right? Everything's on the tip of your tongue until you get asked. But, all right, yeah. Michelle, thanks for being on Funny Like a Clown podcast. Before we go, I'm going to give you the stage. You being a fan of Lewis Black, what would you want other people to know about him?
That he's a hell of a nice guy. That just channels his anger about the system, cares about the system, cares about the country, cares about people, and channels it through his humor, and one of the most clever men I could only hope to be 1/10th, no, 100th as brilliant as he is. If I could have 1% of his brilliance, I'd be happy.
Sure. I mean, comedy's a great platform to get your message across, and certainly he's trying to get a message, and it is always cool when you don't forget where you come from. I don't care how big you get in this business, you know, don't look down on the little people. Try to help them out and help the guy behind you.
Yep.
All right, Michelle, thank you for being on Funny Like a Clown podcast. I wish you luck in your comedy career down there, and hopefully we'll see you back up on the Boston scene soon.
Well, we're going to do that movie, so yeah, you will.
That's right. We got a movie coming out. But no, we'll be announcing that soon, and you get to play the waitress in it. I'm looking forward to that. So we'll see you soon.
Okay. Thanks.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Michele Mortensen on comedian Lewis Black. And, yeah, you know, I do a routine called The Child Support Superhero, and I try to get my message across about, you know, how children need both their parents equally. And I can understand, you know, Lewis Black, his rants on how, you know, they say America's the greatest country in the world. There's no doubt about that, but we still got our problems. And he tries to, you know, get his message across to fix the problems politically. So, hey, if you have a, you know, if you have a cause you feel passionate about in life, don't hold in. You tell other people, because that's how any problem is solved. Awareness is the key. This is Funny Like a Clown podcast. I'm Dennis Wirth, your host, and we're approaching the 50th episode. I hope to get a big name on here for you for the 50th, but keep tuning in. If you like comedy, laughter is the best medicine, and we will see you next week. Good night.